Hey everyone, as you saw by the title of this video, today we're going to go into some math strategies and ideas for teaching students how to add 3 addends. Now, this specifically goes with this Common Core standard, 1.OA.2, which says students will be able to solve word problems that call for addition of 3 whole numbers whose sum is less than or equal to 20. And they can do this by using objects, drawings, or equations. So in this video, I'm gonna share 3 or 4 fun and easy ideas that you can take and use in your first grade classroom right away. If you're ready to dive on in, give this video a like, subscribe to my channel, and let's go. Now, the Common Core standard says to focus on story problems, but naturally before we get to those word problems, we want students to look at and solve equations that have 3 addends within the sum of 20. So I like to do that with different work mats that look like this. By this time of the year, your students are likely familiar with part equaling a whole. They know what those 2 addends are. So I like to introduce this as we are going to continue adding, but this time instead of just 2 addends, we're going to have 3. That way students are familiar with the terminology, and we can also use a work mat like this one I just shared earlier to go ahead and represent the different problems I'm going to share with the class. So to start pretty simply, I would have students each have their own work mat, and they would have a bunch of different manipulatives, preferably in different colors. They don't have to be though at all. Connecting cubes, little teddy bears, little beads, anything works as long as each student has about 20 of them to use by themselves. I actually used to have a ton of these flat water beads. They looked like this. I actually used them doing this unit, and my students loved when I pulled these out. I always pulled them out when we were doing math practice and playing games like bingo. I had to leave them in Las Vegas. I gave them to another teacher friend before I left because I didn't want to transport all that stuff. We only had one little car. But anyways, if you can grab some of those, I think they're called river beads, water beads, I'm not exactly sure. But if you can grab those, I think they have them at craft stores. Students love them. When kicking this off, I would give students some simple math problems, maybe 3 plus 2 plus 1 equals what? You can write it up on the board if you want, or you can just do it orally. And students have to take their cubes, 3 plus 2 plus 1, and put them in each different addend position so they can show me that they understand what the 3 different addends are, and then they can share the sum. Now, when you're having students share the sums that they got to the equations that you're giving them, it's important to have them share how they got it. Especially when working with 3 addends, I really like to point out that there are numerous ways we can get to our answer. We could have added the 1 and the 2 first and known that 3 plus 3 equals 6. We could add the 3 and the 2 to get 5, and then the other one. There's just many different ways students can go about doing it. So I like to, especially after the first or second time we solve these problems together, I like to write down the different ways we solved it on the board. After we've done a whole group lesson like that where students are simply working with numbers, not word problems yet, I like to have them review and practice a little 3 addend addition, again without story problems just yet, using some fun games. One game I love for students is called Bump. It has been around forever. It is fun, it is easy, and I made a little freebie for you that looks like this. Now, just in case you don't know how to play Bump, I did include some simple directions over in that freebie that you can grab down below. But essentially, students are rolling 3 dice. They need to add up the sum, so a sum with 3 addends, and find their sum on the board. And then, of course, there's a lot of bumping and moving and locking pieces to make the game a little bit more fun. Now, also a bunch of years back, I made an entire addition unit focusing on 3 addends. It looks like this over on TPT. And I also have some games within that unit. I have 5 in a row where students will again roll the 3 dice, need to find the sum, and here they go back and forth to try to get 5 in a row. And then I also have this fun board game in there called 3 Addend Alligators, where essentially students are moving from one end of the board down to the other, and along the way they have to solve a bunch of different 3 addend addition problems. There's also another math center I have in that unit that I wanted to share because it's so much fun and it combines both kind of phonics and math. So let me show you that one. It's called Adding CVC Words. Okay, so for adding CVC words, like I said, I love this game because it combines both math and literacy. Now it will require a little prep. These yellow cards here, there's a bunch of them, but you can laminate those and the little letter tiles to use this over and over again. But basically students will pick up one of the cards. This one says, make each of the following words and record each sum. So first they will start by making that word fit. So F they'll have to find the matching letters, I and T. If you wanted to, you know, even go extra, you could put little Velcro dots here after you eliminated, but I don't think you need to. Fit. They will come over to here, they will read that word, write it down, and then each letter has its own number here, so they'll write down the addends, 6, 7, and 5. Then they will go ahead and find the sum. 6 plus 7 is 13, plus 5 more is 18, or however they choose to solve that, and write the sum here. Now it says change the F to B. So they'll have to take this F off, find a B, read the new word, bit, and do the new addends. What I like about this too is they're only changing one addend at a time. So once they have solved, you know, the first one, they should be able to more easily solve the others. So here we have 1 plus 7 is 8, 5 more is 13. Then change the I to an A, read the word bat, and now we have 1, 3, and 5 to make 9. And lastly, change the T to an N, ban. Here we have ban, 1, 3, 3 to make 7. So they can kind of just go ahead and do this, and one of these recording sheets, I would make it double-sided, would complete 2 of the cards, so that way students could do probably 4 if this was double-sided. But this is a fun and hands-on, and like I said, it combines literacy and math. It's great for a center. So after a day or two of having students practice some straight 3-addend addition with just numbers, and they're doing it with their hands like on the mats, and they're also playing some games to get a little faster, practice a little more fluency. Then I like to introduce students to that missing addend type problem. Within the Common Core Standards, students will also need to solve for a missing addend with 3 addends, not just with 2. So in order to do this, I like to play a game called Missing Number Mystery, and it looks like this. Now this little game is inside that math unit that I shared, but you could set up something similar yourself to do whole group with the class. So here you have these spinners. There's spinner 1, spinner 2, and spinner 3. And you can see some different numbers on each. So students will spin all 3, and then in that recording sheet, they will record their answers in the right spot. Essentially, they will have 2 of their addends, and they will have a sum, and they have to solve for that 3rd addend. This is how I will show students some different ways they can go ahead and solve this. They can take that sum and then individually subtract each of the other addends to find that 3rd one, or they can go ahead and add the 2 numbers first, those 2 addends, and subtract that from the sum to find it. But I like to offer some different strategies to do this whole group, and then I like to separate my students into groups for them to play it by themselves. And then of course during this time, those small groups that might need a little more help with this are going to meet with me, and I will play with them. Okay, so by this point, students understand what the 3 different addends are. They have represented different problems using objects to show the addends and how they're different from the sum. They've practiced some fluency, and they've even solved for some missing addend problems. So now is when I like to introduce some basic story problems. Adding words to our addition problems always kind of ups that difficulty level a little bit, so I like to make sure our students have that fact practice down first before we go ahead and add some words. Now for this, you can easily Google some first grade 3-addend story problems. You will find a ton of them. If you do have my unit, I have a bunch of story cards that look like this right here, and I even share some different ways you can use them. When introducing these, I would probably pull out those mats again, and I would read the story problem aloud and have students go ahead and represent the problem on their mat. So for instance, Bob has 4 blue crayons, 2 red crayons, and 6 black crayons. How many crayons did Bob have in all? And I would just have them show that on their mat before giving us the solution. Now also included in these story cards, I like to make sure I do throw in some with missing addends. So here is how that might sound. Ted has 8 pets in all. He has 2 dogs and 3 cats. How many guinea pigs does he have? So I really like to dissect that type of problem with my students, saying, oh wait, Ted has 8 pets in all. In all. We already know our answer. Here's how many cats he has, here's how many dogs he has. We need to find out that missing addend, and if you played Missing Number Mystery, I like to kind of relate it back to that and figure out that's our missing number. So we have some strategies to figure out what that addend is. Once you do a couple of these whole group, I like to play a game called Showdown with my students. Now, this is a whole group game where they will just need their own mini whiteboard and a marker. I think I've shared about this before, but essentially for this game, you will give them a story problem. They will need to write out the equation and solve it on their board, and they kind of keep it hidden from everybody. And once I see that everyone's ready, either by putting their marker down or some signal that you can create, I say 3, 2, 1, showdown. And what they do is they will show either their group or they can show you the teacher, and you can quickly check to see how students did. And if there's a student that has it wrong, their peers, either in their group or their partner, is supposed to help them and coach them into getting it correct. Since we have to show our work on our board, they might see a mistake that their classmate has made and kind of coach them and show them, oh wait, that number is not supposed to be here, or you know, you added these two numbers incorrectly, etc. And one little note for Showdown is when students are flipping their board to show their answer, you really want to try to pair students up so they have a partner or a small group if they sit in groups of like 3 or 4. That way they're not all just looking at you for the correct answer, because it takes a bit to go around and see. And they're not just looking at everybody else's to be like, oh, he got it wrong, she got it right, I have it wrong. Instead, the goal of this game is to kind of have students focused on their partnership or their small group to make sure that little group of students has it correct. And the more your students practice that type of peer coaching, the more successful it is. And it's nice because students don't always have to hear that they have the wrong answer or how to fix it from their teacher. They can also learn that from their peers as well. And sometimes the way your students explain things to other kids is way better than you might explain it. So it's a lot of fun to listen in on. So there you have some of the ways I would teach 3Addend addition in my own first grade classroom. Personally, I think it is a really fun standard to kind of build upon, because once you're teaching it, your students already have a decent understanding of regular 2-part addition, you could say. And it just kind of extends the lesson. It's a little bit higher order thinking for them, and I don't know, I just think it's a whole lot of fun. I would love to know from you which of these activities you would like to do with your own students. Let me know down in the comments. And don't forget that Snowman Bump freebie is also listed down in the description. I will also go ahead and link that 3Addend addition unit down in the description in case you want to check that one out as well. As always, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. Make sure you are subscribed to my channel and click that bell. That way you're notified of every new video. I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.